everything we've been taught about death is a lie. In research labs across America, scientists are documenting something that demolishes everything medicine believes about consciousness. Cardiac arrest patients, declared clinically dead with flatlined brain activity, are coming back with impossible memories. They describe overhead conversations that occurred while their brains showed zero electrical activity. They know which medical instruments were used, what music was playing, even what the janitor was mumbling in the hallway. The materialist explanation falls apart completely. Yet, a housewife in Elmira, New York, had been getting detailed briefings about this phenomenon for over 2 decades, from a source claiming to be an expert on the transition between life and death. Jane Roberts began receiving communications in 1963 from an entity calling itself Seth. Unlike typical channeled material filled with vague spiritual platitudes, Seth delivered information with the precision of a technical manual. Over 1,800 recorded sessions contained such specific, methodical descriptions of post-death consciousness that major publishers rejected the material as potentially destabilizing to public worldview. The content threatened both religious dogma and scientific materialism. Seth described death not as Judgment Day or lights out forever, but as a structured process with identifiable phases, predictable patterns, and specific challenges that every consciousness navigates, like a pilot's handbook for transitioning between dimensions of reality. Here's why this matters now. Decades of near-death research have confirmed Seth's core assertions. Patients consistently report the exact phenomena Seth detailed in the 1960s before these experiences entered mainstream awareness. Out-of-body observations, communication with deceased relatives, life reviews where they experience every interaction from multiple perspectives simultaneously. The research emerging from medical centers validates what Seth taught. Consciousness operates independently of brain hardware. When your biological systems shut down, your awareness continues running on an entirely different operating system. This revelation transforms everything about how we should approach living. Death isn't a final exam graded by cosmic authorities. It's a career transition where your consciousness evaluates its own performance and selects its next learning environment based on skills it wants to develop. Consider the implications. That challenging relationship with your boss might be a training scenario designed by both your souls to develop specific capabilities. The financial setback that seemed devastating could be perfectly timed redirection toward your actual life purpose. Every person you encounter might be a collaborator you've worked with across multiple incarnations. Subscribe now if you're ready to explore consciousness beyond conventional boundaries, because we're about to challenge fundamental assumptions about both death and life itself. Over the next several minutes, we'll examine Seth's detailed maps of post-mortem reality. You'll learn about the 3 distinct phases every consciousness experiences after physical death. Discover how interdimensional communication actually functions, and understand why some souls choose reincarnation while others pursue completely different evolutionary paths. Ready to discover death not as an ending, but as advancement to the next level of existence. Seth didn't deliver vague spiritual poetry about crossing over to the light. He described death like an air traffic controller, guiding planes through complex airspace. Every consciousness follows specific flight patterns, encounters predictable checkpoints, and faces identical navigation challenges during the transition from physical to non-physical reality. The process begins days or weeks before the heart stops beating. Seth called this preliminary disengagement, a gradual loosening of consciousness from biological systems. This explains phenomena that baffle medical professionals. Terminally ill patients conversing with deceased relatives who seem present in the room. Sudden moments of extraordinary clarity in advanced dementia cases. People appearing in loved ones' dreams to say goodbye before their death is even announced. During preliminary disengagement, consciousness exists in dual mode, sometimes focused in the physical body, other times exploring what Seth termed probable realities of post-death existence. The dying person isn't hallucinating. They're literally test-driving frequencies that become accessible as their anchor to dense matter weakens. The moment of final separation brings immediate relief and expansion. Picture being compressed in an economy airline seat for 12 hours, then suddenly walking into a vast cathedral. Physical pain vanishes instantly because consciousness no longer receives input from damaged nerve pathways, but personality, memory, and individual identity remain completely intact. Like switching from a cramped apartment to a mansion while keeping all your furniture. Immediately after separation, consciousness encounters what Seth described as a reception area. Not a physical location, but a state of reality specifically designed to ease transition shock. Here, the newly deceased meets what Seth called their transition team, consciousnesses with whom they've collaborated across multiple lifetimes, appearing in forms calculated to provide maximum comfort and minimum confusion. Your grandmother might appear exactly as she looked when you were 7 years old, not as she appeared during her final illness. Your father might wear that fishing jacket he loved, even though he died in a hospital gown. These are deliberate choices, like customizing a user interface to match the new arrival's psychological needs. Communication happens through direct thought transmission. Not spoken words, but complete concepts transferred instantly between consciousnesses. Misunderstandings become impossible because you receive the pure intention behind every communication. Unfiltered by language limitations or emotional projections. During orientation, the transition team explains something crucial. In this realm, thoughts manifest immediately into tangible experience. Think of a red rose, and you might find yourself holding one. Remember your childhood home, and it materializes around you, complete with familiar sounds and scents. This isn't magic. It's simply how consciousness operates when not constrained by physical matter's resistance to rapid change. After orientation comes what Seth called comprehensive experience review. Nothing like the Hollywood version of standing before some cosmic judge. Instead, it's the most sophisticated educational experience imaginable, where you don't just remember your life, but relive significant moments with expanded awareness impossible during physical incarnation. You don't flip through life like a photo album. You inhabit key situations with multidimensional perspective, experiencing events simultaneously from your viewpoint and from the perspective of everyone involved. That stern teacher who seemed harsh in 3rd grade, during review, you experience her viewpoint, discovering she was struggling through a difficult divorce while trying to maintain classroom composure. You feel her genuine concern for your education beneath the strict exterior. The argument with your spouse during a stressful period, you experience the complete emotional impact from their side, feeling exactly how your words affected them, understanding their fears and needs that weren't expressed at the time. Seth emphasized that this process reveals cascading effects of seemingly minor actions. A smile offered to a stranger might have prevented them from making a devastating decision that night. You witness how that small kindness rippled outward, affecting their family relationships, career trajectory, and life choices for years afterward. The review process is completely self-directed. No external judges, cosmic tribunals, or divine authorities keep score of rights and wrongs. You simultaneously serve as reviewer and subject. Your own spiritual development level determines how deeply you examine each experience and how quickly you process the educational value. This leads to conscious choice of next development phase. Some consciousness choose to remain in expanded reality realms for extended periods, working as guides for newly transitioned souls, or exploring forms of creativity impossible in physical dimensions. Others feel drawn to relatively quick reincarnation. Still others choose paths Seth described as beyond current human comprehension. Here's where Seth's information gets practically revolutionary. The bonds of love create permanent connection channels that transcend dimensional boundaries. When someone dies after sharing deep emotional connections, those links don't evaporate. They transform into active communication networks, operating outside normal conscious perception. The most common contact method involves dream state visitation. During sleep, analytical mind functions that normally filter impossible experiences go offline. Brain systems that usually dismiss interdimensional perceptions shut down temporarily, allowing consciousness to naturally tune into frequencies where the deceased exist. Seth provided specific criteria for distinguishing authentic visitations from psychological projections. Genuine visits feel more vivid than ordinary dreams, carry intense emotional charge, and feature the deceased appearing healthy and at peace regardless of how they died. Most importantly, they deliver information or comfort the dreamer couldn't have generated independently. Modern technology has created new avenues for interdimensional communication that fascinate researchers studying consciousness survival. Since consciousness operates electromagnetically, electronic devices become natural interface points between realities. Phones ringing with no caller, radio stations changing without human intervention, lights flickering in patterns that seem responsive to thoughts about the deceased person. Seth explained that consciousness, being fundamentally electromagnetic, makes influencing electronic devices relatively straightforward for post-death awareness. The key distinction: authentic communication feels like receiving rather than generating thoughts. Instead of formulating ideas mentally, complete thoughts arrive with emotional signatures recognizable as belonging to the deceased individual. This systematic approach to understanding death as transition rather than termination completely transforms how we should view both dying and living. Seth mapped post-death consciousness terrain like Google Maps charts physical geography. He identified 3 distinct dimensional zones that souls navigate after leaving biological hardware, each serving specific functions in ongoing spiritual development. Understanding this architecture revolutionizes everything we think we know about existence beyond the body. The first dimensional zone operates like an advanced VR system designed by consciousness for consciousness. Newly transitioned souls encounter environments that closely mirror familiar Earth-like experiences, but with fundamentally different operational rules. Here, intention directly shapes reality instead of physical laws governing experience. Picture arriving in a simulation of your childhood neighborhood, complete with the corner store where you bought candy and the park where you learned to ride a bike. Except now, thinking about your grandmother's apple pie causes it to materialize on the kitchen table. Wishing for your old dog to appear brings them bounding through the yard, healthy and playful as ever. This isn't random cosmic coincidence. Seth explained that newly deceased consciousness automatically creates comfort zones while adjusting to non-physical existence. The familiar settings serve as training wheels, allowing gradual adaptation to reality creation through thought rather than physical action. Many souls spend what feels like months or years in these reconstructed environments, gradually discovering they possess unlimited creative potential that was completely constrained during biological existence. Some recreate entire lifetimes worth of missed opportunities, pursuing the art career they abandoned, having conversations they never got to finish, exploring relationships that were cut short. Once consciousness adapts to thought-responsive reality, it typically advances to what Seth described as collaborative research facilities. Not universities with buildings and classrooms, but consciousness communities focused on exploring the mechanics of existence itself. These institutes function more like think tanks where souls with similar interests gather to investigate fundamental reality questions. How does consciousness create matter? How do probable realities branch from decision points? How can entire universes be generated through focused intention? Seth described souls who become fascinated with studying how different timeline possibilities split off from crucial choice moments, while others concentrate on mastering the ability to create entire star systems through pure creative will. Some institutes focus on Earth assistance programs, working as behind-the-scenes guides for souls still navigating physical incarnation. This explains those moments when breakthrough solutions suddenly appear in your mind, or when intuitive hunches guide you away from dangerous situations. According to Seth, these often originate from interdimensional consulting provided by souls operating in Zone 2 learning facilities. The most sophisticated dimensional zone Seth mapped involves existence design laboratories, where consciousness evaluates all available development paths and strategically selects optimal next experiences. This might involve choosing another physical incarnation or exploring completely non-material forms of existence. The reincarnation selection process operates like the most advanced career counseling imaginable. Consciousness reviews its current skill set, identifies areas needing development, then examines various incarnation scenarios that would provide ideal learning environments for specific growth objectives. A soul wanting to master patience might review potential lives involving chronic illness or caring for special needs family members. Consciousness seeking to develop artistic expression might explore incarnations in creative families during cultural renaissance periods. Those focused on leadership development might select challenging political or social circumstances. Here's where Seth's information becomes mind-bending. Before committing to any incarnation path, consciousness can experience sample versions of different potential lives. Like test driving multiple cars before purchasing, souls can explore how various genetic backgrounds, family dynamics, and historical periods would feel before making final selections. This means while one aspect of your consciousness lives this current life, other aspects might be simultaneously experiencing alternate versions where you made different career choices, married different people, or lived in different countries. Seth called these probable selves, equally real expressions of your consciousness exploring various possibility branches. Seth shattered conventional reincarnation concepts by revealing it as voluntary creative collaboration, rather than karmic debt collection. Souls don't reincarnate because they're forced to pay for previous mistakes. They choose physical experience because Earth provides unmatched intensive learning opportunities. Think of physical existence like extreme sports for consciousness. The density, emotional intensity, and sensory richness of biological life creates accelerated development impossible in non-physical dimensions. Many souls become experience addicts, choosing multiple consecutive incarnations because they love the creative challenge of working within physical limitations. Seth revealed that reincarnation typically involves creative teams, groups of consciousness that incarnate together repeatedly, rotating through different relationship roles to explore every possible dynamic combination. Your current spouse might have been your parent in a previous life, your child in another, and your business partner in yet another incarnation. These aren't random assignments or karmic punishments. They're strategic partnerships designed to provide mutual growth opportunities. That challenging relationship with your sibling? Both souls agreed to explore specific family dynamics that would teach valuable lessons about boundaries, forgiveness, or independence. Not all consciousness chooses repeated physical incarnation. Seth described souls who graduate to specialized cosmic functions, reality architects who help design and maintain entire universe systems, consciousness coaches who guide developing souls through various growth phases, and interdimensional bridge builders who facilitate communication between different reality levels. Some souls merge into collective consciousness units, group minds that operate as unified entities while maintaining individual identity streams within the larger whole. Others explore forms of existence so beyond current human comprehension that Seth could only describe them through abstract metaphors about pure mathematics becoming conscious, or music achieving self-awareness. Movement between these zones isn't sequential or hierarchical. A consciousness might spend extensive periods in advanced learning institutes, briefly visit planning centers to check on incarnated soul partners, then return to institute research projects. Some advanced souls maintain simultaneous awareness across multiple zones while also incarnating physically. This dimensional architecture reveals death not as ending or simple transition, but as graduation into vastly expanded existence possibilities, where consciousness can finally explore its unlimited creative potential without biological constraints. Seth delivered one of the most explosive revelations in all spiritual teaching. Reincarnation is not mandatory. It's not some cosmic assembly line that automatically cycles souls back to Earth. It's not a judicial sentence you serve for past life mistakes. Reincarnation is voluntary participation in an advanced learning program and many souls choose completely different paths. This challenges everything from Eastern philosophy to New Age doctrine. Traditional Buddhism describes reincarnation as an endless wheel of suffering you must escape through enlightenment. Popular spiritual teachers present it as karmic debt collection, where you keep returning until all accounts are balanced. Seth revealed something far more empowering. You choose if, when, and how to reincarnate, based purely on what experiences will best serve your consciousness development. Seth compared consciousness to an artist passionate about exploring every possible medium, technique, and creative expression. Physical incarnation is just one incredibly rich medium for consciousness to explore itself. When evaluating whether to reincarnate, souls essentially ask, will another physical lifetime provide learning opportunities I can't access any other way? Sometimes the answer is absolutely yes. Other times, it's absolutely no. The decision involves strategic growth planning rather than karmic punishment or spiritual obligation. A consciousness might choose Earth experience to master patience through chronic illness, develop leadership skills through political challenges, or explore artistic expression through cultural Renaissance periods. Where Seth gets revolutionary is explaining what he called collaborative development agreements, not the rigid predestination that New Age teachings often describe, but flexible creative partnerships between conscious beings choosing to assist each other's growth through specific relationship dynamics. One soul might volunteer, "This lifetime, I'll play your challenging boss so you can develop assertiveness skills." Another offers, "I'll be your perfectionist parent to help you learn self-acceptance." These aren't punishment assignments or karmic debts being paid. They're strategic role-playing exercises designed by the participants themselves. The crucial detail Seth emphasized, these agreements remain completely flexible throughout the incarnation. Free will always trumps pre-life planning. If circumstances develop in unexpected directions, souls can modify, cancel, or completely rewrite their collaborative arrangements while the lifetime is still in progress. Seth identified souls who become absolutely addicted to physical reality. They choose multiple consecutive incarnations, sometimes with minimal breaks between lives, because they're fascinated by the intensity and creative constraints of biological existence. These souls want to experience every possible human role: warrior, artist, parent, hermit, leader, servant, revolutionary, conservative. Think of them as method actors who want to completely inhabit every character type imaginable. They're drawn to the dramatic emotional range, sensory richness, and creative problem-solving required to navigate physical limitations. Other consciousness extract everything they need from just a few Earth experiences and graduate to completely different development paths. They might spend centuries exploring non-physical dimensions, become specialized guides for incarnated souls, or merge with larger consciousness entities to experience collective awareness. Here's where Seth's teaching becomes mind-bending. Consciousness doesn't live just one linear life at a time. It can simultaneously explore multiple probable life experiences, investigating different choice outcomes and timeline possibilities. While one aspect of your consciousness lives this current life, other aspects might be experiencing the versions where you became a doctor instead of a teacher, married your college sweetheart instead of your current partner, or move to Japan instead of staying in your hometown. Seth called these probable selves, equally real expressions of your total consciousness exploring various possibility branches. Before choosing any major incarnation, souls can sample different potential life scenarios, like test driving cars before purchasing. They explore how various genetic backgrounds, family dynamics, historical periods, and cultural contexts would feel before making final selection commitments. Some of the most challenging human lives are chosen by spiritually advanced souls seeking accelerated development through intensive experience. That person, born into severe poverty, who becomes a renowned teacher, the child with major disabilities who inspires others, the individual who transforms personal trauma into healing work for thousands. These often represent highly evolved consciousness, deliberately choosing difficult circumstances because the intensity accelerates growth impossible through easier paths. Seth compared them to spiritual equivalent of extreme athletes, beings so committed to development that they willingly choose the most challenging available training programs. Seth revealed that souls frequently incarnate in clusters, rotating through different relationship roles across multiple lifetimes to explore every possible dynamic combination. Your current mother might have been your spouse in a previous life, your child in another, your business partner in yet another incarnation. These aren't random assignments or cosmic punishment rotations. They're comprehensive relationship exploration projects where consciousness groups work together across time to understand all aspects of human connection, authority and rebellion, romance and friendship, mentorship and rivalry, forgiveness and resentment. Picture a cosmic theater troupe where everyone eventually plays every role with every other actor, gaining complete understanding of human relationship dynamics from all possible perspectives. For consciousness choosing alternatives to repeated Earth experience, Seth described fascinating options. Some become specialized interdimensional consultants, working with incarnated souls from non-physical realms. Others explore pure creativity dimensions, where mathematics becomes conscious, music achieves self-awareness, or abstract concepts take on independent existence. Advanced souls might merge into collective consciousness units, group minds that maintain individual identity streams while operating as unified entities. Some choose reality architecture roles, helping design and maintain entire universe systems. Others specialize in consciousness education, guiding developing souls through various growth phases across multiple reality levels. In the most sophisticated post-death zones, consciousness engages in comprehensive existence design, evaluating all available development paths and strategically selecting optimal next experiences. This involves detailed analysis of skill gaps, growth objectives, and available learning environments across multiple reality dimensions. The planning process operates like the most advanced career counseling imaginable, except instead of choosing jobs, consciousness selects entire existence formats that will provide ideal development opportunities for specific evolutionary goals. Understanding reincarnation as voluntary creative participation rather than mandatory spiritual sentence completely transforms how we view both death and current life circumstances. Every challenge becomes chosen curriculum. Every relationship becomes collaborative development. Every soul encountered represents conscious participation in your mutual growth experiment. The revelations Seth shared about consciousness survival and post-death reality aren't just fascinating information about tomorrow's experience. They're revolutionary tools for transforming how you live today. When you truly comprehend that death is expansion rather than extinction, everything changes. Your relationships, your choices, your fears, your deepest motivations. Understanding consciousness continuity eliminates the foundation beneath most human anxiety. Fear of rejection, failure, inadequacy, loss, virtually all emotional suffering stems from the primal terror of annihilation. We unconsciously assume that mistakes could lead to total destruction, that being unloved equals non-existence, that failure means permanent worthlessness. Seth's maps reveal these fears as illusions. Your consciousness is eternal. Your relationships transcend physical form. Your growth continues infinitely. This knowledge doesn't promote recklessness. It enables authentic courage. Courage to pursue paths that nourish your soul, even when they challenge social expectations. Courage to express genuine love, knowing that real connections survive dimensional transitions. Courage to take creative risks, understanding that spiritual development extends far beyond conventional success metrics. Knowing about the comprehensive life review process completely revolutionizes how you interact with others. Understanding that you'll eventually experience every encounter from all perspectives involved, feeling exactly how others responded to your words and actions, makes manipulation or cruelty impossible to maintain. The golden rule stops being religious platitude and becomes recognition of literal truth. Everything you do to others, you will experience as if done to yourself. This doesn't generate paralyzing guilt, but expanded awareness that naturally leads to compassion. Your relationships begin operating on higher frequencies when you recognize them as soul contracts, collaborative partnerships chosen to facilitate mutual growth. That demanding boss might be providing exactly the lessons you need about assertiveness. Your romantic partner could be exploring specific emotional dynamics that accelerate both your developments. Arguments transform into curriculum. Challenges become agreed-upon training scenarios. Difficult people reveal themselves as dedicated coaches, helping you develop qualities you specifically wanted to master. Seth's revelation that consciousness carries forward all learning, compassion, and creativity while leaving behind material possessions liberates you from the desperate accumulation anxiety that drives so much human misery. This doesn't mean embracing poverty or financial carelessness. It means using material resources as tools for experience and growth rather than desperate hedges against mortality. You can enjoy abundance without desperate attachment. You can work ambitiously without losing yourself in pursuits that ultimately matter nothing for eternal development. Money, status symbols, and social positioning become means rather than ends, useful for creating experiences but irrelevant for measuring personal worth. Perhaps the most profound transformation involves understanding life challenges. Recognizing that difficult experiences were often chosen at soul level for specific learning purposes makes remaining in victim mentality impossible for extended periods. This doesn't mean accepting abuse or avoiding necessary action. It means recognizing that your eternal essence selected these particular circumstances because they offered ideal opportunities for desired growth. Your job isn't remaining trapped in difficulties, but extracting intended lessons and moving forward with greater wisdom. Disease, financial loss, relationship trauma, all can be viewed as challenges accepted consciously to develop specific qualities like patience, inner strength, discernment, or forgiveness. This reframes suffering from random punishment into spiritual education chosen by your own consciousness. Seth's descriptions of thought becoming tangible in post-death dimensions means developing creativity, intuition, and imagination isn't optional luxury. It's fundamental preparation for expanded existence. Every creative engagement, art, music, writing, innovative problem solving, exercises consciousness, muscles that become primary tools for navigating realities where thought directly creates form. This completely redefines the value of artistic education, meditation practice, dream work, and any activity developing imaginative capabilities. These aren't hobbies or escapism, but development of skills crucial for future consciousness navigation. The artist who spends years learning to visualize and manifest creative visions is literally training for post-death existence, where visualization becomes reality construction. Understanding death as continuation rather than termination makes current life simultaneously more precious and less desperate. Your physical experience becomes incredibly valuable precisely because it's temporary and unique, while losing the frantic edge that comes from believing it's all you have. This creates healthy urgency for authentic living, not urgency based on time running out, but urgency based on recognizing that this specific consciousness configuration will never repeat exactly. You in this body, with these people, during this historical period, represents a completely unique experiment that deserves full expression. You can take significant risks, follow genuine paths, and express your true nature without paralyzing fear that mistakes cause eternal punishment. Growth and learning extend beyond physical death, so risks taken for authentic expression never represent total loss. Knowledge of interdimensional communication completely transforms grief processing. Death becomes transition rather than termination. You can honor relationship continuity while allowing both yourself and the deceased to grow beyond specific roles you played together in physical reality. This doesn't eliminate the pain of physical separation, but provides context, preventing total despair. You know the person continues existing, continues developing, and that genuine connections transcend dimensional limitations. Grief becomes adaptation process rather than absolute loss experience. These revelations create both profound responsibility and ultimate comfort. Recognizing that consciousness continues and develops means how you live, love, and grow matters on scales barely comprehensible. Every choice to express compassion rather than judgment, creativity rather than conformity, contributes to consciousness evolution itself. But this responsibility comes with ultimate reassurance. Death isn't termination, but graduation to expanded existence, greater understanding, and continued growth. Seth's information suggests that studying consciousness continuity while physically incarnated creates unique advantages for post-death navigation. Understanding these processes in advance allows smoother transitions and more conscious choices during dimensional shifts. You're not just learning about death, you're training for advanced existence. Every meditation session, creative project, compassionate action, and conscious relationship choice prepares you for realities where consciousness operates without biological constraints. This knowledge transforms your entire identity from temporary biological entity struggling against extinction to eternal consciousness temporarily focused through physical experience. Every challenge becomes curriculum. Every relationship becomes collaboration. Every moment becomes part of infinite learning adventure. You're simultaneously ancient soul, carrying wisdom from multiple existences and brand new consciousness, exploring unprecedented combinations of experience. This perspective makes everything significant, while eliminating desperate attachment to specific outcomes. These aren't abstract spiritual concepts for philosophical discussion. They're practical blueprints for living with expanded awareness of your true nature. When you realize that consciousness continues, that love creates permanent connections, that growth extends eternally, every day becomes opportunity for profound development. The question isn't whether you'll survive death. Seth's information suggests that's guaranteed. The question is how consciously you'll navigate the transition and how prepared you'll be for the unlimited creative possibilities waiting beyond biological constraints. Drop a comment below if these concepts are shifting how you view your current life circumstances. Use the word awakening if you're ready to apply this dimensional understanding practically. And remember, subscribe to continue exploring consciousness territories that mainstream science denies and traditional religion keeps mysterious. Because you deserve to understand the truth about your own eternal nature. The journey has only just begun. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.